Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm your host, Locke Hoover. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You can also follow us at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on Lock It Down Sports, a lot of fun stuff I'm excited to talk to you about. In the fact that, is there going to be a Super League in the works? If Shohei lost more money than that was first reported, and the latest Deion Sanders comment you're not going to want to miss. But first, this normally would not be as big of a thing, but based on how this offseason went, and what transpired, it is kind of an interesting, notable story in the fact that Jordan Montgomery, pitcher for the Diamondbacks, changed agents. Normally it's like, okay, so what? A Major League Baseball player changed agents. But in this case, his agent was Scott Boras. Supposedly the best agent in the big leagues, the one that gets the players the highest contract or the highest annual revenue, AAV. But Jordan Montgomery signed for a 1-year, $25 million deal, which is obviously nothing to scoff about. But he signed on March 29th. He also has a player option for $20 million. So that's, like I said, in itself, it's a fine deal. But and he's an average pitcher. Jordan Montgomery's an average pitcher, having a good, solid year. But what he did in the postseason, down the stretch in the postseason for the Rangers, he thought his numbers were going to blow up. I mean, he was expecting a $100 million deal. A lengthy deal, $100 million deal, and he signed a 1-year deal for $25 million. Also, he signed so late in the offseason that obviously he missed the start all of spring training and missed the beginning of the regular season. Had to go down to the minors to strengthen his arm, get stretched out a little bit. So that hurts too. Now he'll probably get his money if he wants it in a vesting option if he gets 10 starts. So if doesn't get hurt, then he'll get his option. And 10 starts is obviously not very many. For a guy in Jordan Montgomery who's a middle rotation guy, eats innings, solid contributor. So him changing agents based on his experience, and then also I think he saw I feel like he saw what happened. We saw what happened during this offseason with the core Boras 4, as they like to call them, as Cody Bellinger was one of them, signed a 3-year, $80 million deal. But his is a same thing, 3 opt-out years after each season. Projected to get around $150 million. Instead, had to settle for $80 million. And for him, it's 3 1-year deals. Essentially, he can opt out after this year if he has a good year. If he has a good year, he's going to opt out because then it's, look, I've got 2 good to solid back-to-back years. I'm worth more than my contract. Or he thinks he's worth more than his contract. If he does bad, he struggles. Obviously, he's not opting out. And I think that's some of it with the Cody Bellinger deal and what these teams are looking at. Former 2019 MVP, great year. Granted, it was 2019, and the numbers were pretty inflated all across the board. There's no doubt. Everybody's home runs and everything was up. So he had the best inflated numbers of the home runs and all that for 2019 MVP. So because everyone was playing with the same level of stuff. So you got to take that in consideration. But then the years that followed, not good. He got non-tendered, and then signed with the Cubs last year and was solid. Solid deal, but is expecting to get more than 3 1-year deals, more than $80 million. Another example, Blake Snell signed a 2-year, $62 million deal, but can opt out after the first year, and he did not sign until March 19th. Once again, same similar thing with Cody Bellinger. Look, I'm a former Cy Young Award winner. I should be getting more than a 2-year deal, and let me show you what I can do. Because it was reported he also turned down $150 million from the Yankees. But here, once again, I believe lies some of the problem with Blake Snell. Yes, he's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, reigning Cy Young Award winner. But you look at the 4 years in between his Cy Young Award winners. His average ERAs were 4.29, 3.24. The 3.24 was only in 50 innings. 4.20 and 3.38. Does that scream Cy Young to you? Also, during that stretch, the most innings he ever threw was 128 and 2/3 innings. You're Cy Young. I'm signing you to a big contract. You're supposed to be my horse. Yes, during those 2 Cy Young Award winnings, there's 180 innings, 180 plus innings. But what happened the 4 years in between, huh? You're Cy Young. You take the ball every 5th day. You go 6, 7 plus innings every outing. Yeah, you're going to have some bad ones. But you're Cy Young Award winner. You can't be 5 and fly. I mean, those numbers to me don't scream Cy Young as a whole. Yeah, he balled out in his contract year. But it didn't cash in this big mega deal he was expecting. And now he's off to a bad start. Yes, it's 2 starts and it's early. But once again, coming to the year, he didn't have a spring training. He missed a lot of spring training, had to go to the minors, build up some arm strength. First start through 3 innings, second start, 4 innings. We'll see. Wouldn't surprise me if he had another so-so year and then he opts into his deal because he's not going to get more than the $32 million out on the free agent market. I don't think so. Yeah, I think he'll have decent numbers to okay numbers in a pitcher's park in San Francisco. I mean, park effect, you have to take that into account too, obviously, when it comes to signing players. For the most part, his numbers are going to be better because it's a pitcher's park. How does that translate into my ballpark? Same thing, the other Scott Boras client, Matt Chapman. So he signed a 3-year, $54 million deal, and he's got opt-outs as well. When did he sign? You guess it. Late in spring training. And yeah, you guessed it. He turned down more than that with the Blue Jays. Turned down a 6-year, $120 million deal from the Jays last offseason. I mean, during the regular season. You know what? I'm going to be a free agent. I'm going to get more than that 6-year, $120 million deals because you need me. I'm a power hitting third baseman, plays great defense, but doesn't hit for average. I hit for power and I play good defense. That's valuable for sure, especially over the hot corner. Can pick it. Want some gold gloves. But once again, he didn't get what he wanted, what he expected. And I think here's where I believe Boras overinflates his players and, hey, here's what X player's worth. And teams today aren't buying it. Teams will offer Scott Boras hey, here's my 3-year, $90 million offer, 4-year, $100 million offer, whatever it is. They hand it to Boras and say, hey, that's what I'm offering X player. Boras looks at it. He laughs at the club and says, no, come back. Give me more money. Give me higher offer. The club then goes, all right. They move on. They go to the next player that they're after to fill that slot that they need. Whether the outfield, the starting pitching, the bullpen, whatever the role and the player might be, it's these clubs aren't letting Scott Boras hold them hostage. And they're not circling back around to get Scott Boras clients, especially in this free agency class. You saw they all signed late. There's some budge there. And I wonder if some of this too is the players not being involved at all in the negotiation of saying one thing or the other to Scott Boras, their agent, or to the teams that they would like to go to. It's give me the best money, the highest deal, wherever possible, whatever team, I don't care. And I feel like that's the case anymore. I mean, that's the case more. Now, obviously, Boras has had other bad years as well. I mean, next year is going to be another trialing case. I think some of this, too, is these aren't superstar players. But Boras is trying to get them, and they wanted superstar money to be, and they're good baseball players. Some of them are. Matt Chapman, average. Blake Snell, I don't want him on my team. I wouldn't sign him. Wouldn't trust him. Bellinger, I would have signed him to a 1-year deal. Which is basically what he got. So, big money he wanted for superstar players that aren't superstars. Now, I said next year's free agent class, Alonso, Bregman, Soto, Burns. Those are his big guys next year's class. Soto, I think he'll get whatever he wants. And by that, it would be a great deal. He might want $500 million and he gets 400, whatever. You know, he'll get that Bryce Harper type dealing type contract, I believe. Bregman, Alonso, I don't think are going to get what they want. What they expect to get, I don't see them getting that at all. Nope, I don't see it. Burns, interesting case. I think he'll get a good hefty contract. But two of those players I think are going to be upset with what they're expecting to get and what Boras actually gets with them, because teams aren't playing around. Teams are saying, all right, whatever. I'll go another direction. Obviously, to wait and see a year-to-year thing with the free agency and the players and the team needs, but does Scott Boras continue to have to adjust, or does he continue to try to play the exact same game he's been playing from now until forever? We'll see, but that's what I think is the case. Now, I know there's been talks about this. It's been swirling around, but there's some actual concrete conversations and discussions about a 70-team Super League in college football coming. It won't be called the Super League, but it would be called College Sports Tomorrow. Or at least that's the collective group putting this all together with, I mean, I don't want to go on the boring part of who's the ownership and who would be involved and who's getting involved with this. The proposed is to start this in 2027, which to me seems way too soon and outlandish for everything that is involved and would be involved on this 70 team Super League. So it would be 8 divisions with 7 permanent team Super League divisions. So it would be this is all hypothetical, all that, but it's a very logical breakdown. So it'd be the West, the Southwest, the Plains, the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast, and the South division. Obviously, you can pretty much picture all the teams that would be there. The West, obviously, Pac-12 schools. Southwest, your Texas, your Oklahoma, your TCU, your Arkansas, Oklahoma State, etc. Midwest, basically your Big Ten. Northeast would be your ACC and some of your Big Ten schools. Southeast and South Conference, your ACC, SEC schools, however they're sliced up. So playoffs would be 8 division winners and 8 wild cards is the talk. Here's the fun part here. I kind of reading this, I gotta perk my interest a little bit. So like I said, 8 divisions, but that 8th division would be called the Underleague. And think of it like this, as the European Soccer League with regulation. So this Underleague division would rotate every year with 8 of its 10 teams, where 8 of its 10 teams are regulated and replaced by 8 other teams. So you have your original initial how you want to start of your 8, and then you have other conference play for all your other smaller conferences. So this division will essentially be finding the best 8 teams from your G5. So your Conference USA, your MAC, your Sun Belts, Mountain West Conference, all those conferences would be duking it out each year, and ultimately the best 2 schools would stay in the underleague division. So, for example, year 1 might be a Boise State, a James Madison, Liberty, Troy, UNLV, Toledo, UAB, UTEP, MTSU, Colorado State. I said random schools from G5 leagues. So then, if the best 2 schools from these divisions, let's just say it's Boise and Troy, the top 2 of that would get to stay in the underleague division, and then there would be 8 new teams in the underleague division rotating out. Interesting, I know. I read that, I was like, that's kind of cool to me. I think this does give the best access to the playoffs for them, because once you're in, you got to be eight teams. You're the best. You're one of 8. Excuse me. You're one of 10. You're one of 10, not one of how many other G5 leagues teams are there? I don't know. I don't know that number. But you have to be one of 8, not one of 50 or 60 maybe. You get in, you stay in, and you can die if you can win it, get in, stay in, be a top 2 team. They should like their chances of getting in if they can continue to dominate that league and that division. I mean, kids would want to go there if they're not recruited by any of the Power 5 schools or Power 4 schools now, Power Conference schools. They're overlooked kid, or the kid that wants more playing time goes there. You get the just below cream of the crop guys because they know there's an easier path to the playoff. So there's some real, to me, I think, some staying power for a team or 2 on the under league division that can get this going. Now the NIL breakdown, interesting as well. The money would come from the Super League TV money. Freshmen receive 5%, 15% would go to sophomores, 30% for juniors, and 50% for all seniors and grad students. So that's kind of cool. Although it kind of takes away the whole free market, free agency type thing. Because, what if your freshman or sophomore are studs and they're starting out playing your juniors and seniors? I mean, that's kind of a bugaboo there, in my opinion. Them fighting for players to be paid, and all of a sudden, then wait a minute, you're going to cap me because I'm a freshman, even though I'm a freshman All-American and I perform way better than my junior teammate. I can see that some problems. I do like this part though. Their proposal would be an NIL roster cap and an NIL roster floor. So then, if I roster, the NIL floor would be 80%, and if schools fall below that, then they would be regulated to the underleague until it could be sustained a full season. So I like that part where it's like a salary cap and a salary floor where you have to spend that and distribute that money out, which I think is a good thing on that realm. Now, transfer portal for transfers and the roster management. So the proposal would be, so now 85 roster spots each year. You can only have a maximum of 70 scholarship spots. So the difference here on that is there's currently 85 scholarship kids and around 110 on the roster in total. That 110, of course, counting the walk-ons. So here, too, I do like this part. At least 50 of those players on your roster have to be recruited from high school. So they have to be your recruits from high schools. And the kids could only transfer twice during that 5-year eligibility window. I think, to me, some of like those two things, the 50 player and the roster and the transfer, I think would be great in college football right now. For the current rule, that would be incredible to me. I think that would be a great add in that aspect. Also, when it comes to player management and transfers, so if a school signs a player in the transfer portal in February, it would be like NFL draft compensation picks. So X school, let's just say Georgia, would have to pay Minnesota for signing that player in the college transfer portal. Give them some of that money. So that was interesting. I was like, huh. So on this whole layout, I already said a few things I liked and disliked. Some other things I don't see. I have a hard time seeing this happening. I think for one of the reasons is, so why would the SEC and the Big Ten agree to an NFL type model of sharing TV and revenue money evenly when they bring in the most anyway? They're bringing in more than the ACC, the defunct Pac-12, the Big 12. Why do they want to share? Why do they want to distribute that money evenly when they're already getting the lion's share of it anyway? Now, unless they talk to the powers that be and say, look, we being SEC and Big Ten say, we'll do this if it's set up just like the college football playoff, where we get a larger portion of the revenue coming in. I mean, they're getting the larger portion anyway. Why do they want to share it? I think too, second, I don't see all conferences agreeing to having less scholarship players. Why would they agree to having less scholarship players? I don't. It's hard to fathom, especially when they currently know how the transfer portal works, because there's really not much stoppage to the how the portal currently is. Yes, some kids transfer more than twice, but generally it's 2 years at X school, they don't play, and then 2 years at another school, 2 or 3 years on another school. So that the 2 years and 5 years, the transfer twice in 5 years that's not official, but it's kind of standard. And then another thing with me though, I don't see that, because I don't see teams agreeing to that. Although I said, I do like the transfer and the NIL proposals, and I don't know if I would like the relegation. Ooh, that was a tongue twister, but it's interesting to me, and I feel like that's something that could grow on me. And if you're a G5 school and you become dominant, I think you would like this too. If you're a Boise who's in the past been really well, or James Madison or Liberty, who played in the BCS games, playoff games last year, and the last few years. Why would you be against this too? So there's a lot. There's some interesting things that are involved with this, and if I could see if this would take a 5-10 year down the road plan, because I don't think anybody's going to agree to it. The main power brokers are going to agree to it right now. Now, also too, coming out in the last week or so was Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, Ippo, reported that he stole more than just $4 million. So feds have investigated and say he stole more, or around 16 million over a 2-year span, according to the affidavits filed. So what does that result in? So it'd be up to a $1 million fine and up to 30 years in prison. Now, that's obviously the max, and it would be, who knows what would happen if he pleads out and he takes his punishment, and whatever the justice system gives him out. So something like the timeline of this for the bank account purposes for Ippo, and Shohei. So it's been reported and shown that he had two separate bank accounts, one for where his salary was going and is going, and another separate account for where he receives his endorsements. So two separate accounts. So the lack of knowledge there maybe on Shohei's part of where the money's going and coming, maybe. So it's been reported in the affidavit that Shohei believes his financial advisors and agents oversaw his accounts. So he thought they oversaw his accounts. Also reported in the write-up that Shohei never authorized the wire transfers or granted Ippo access to his accounts. Also, we're saying that Ippo pretended to be Shohei on the phone to get the wire transfers approved. Also, it's been reported that Ippo turned off Shohei's bank alerts about when money was leaving his account. I still have so many so many questions of how, why, like how is this possible? Um, like I still find this hard to believe how Shohei did not know or allow some of the or not know or allow some of this at all. I mean, why would why I'm this is a an interesting question for his like design and setup. I mean, why would he have separate accounts for his endorsements and his salary? I mean, obviously that's perfectly legal. I know people have separate accounts for different things like that. I mean, maybe he set up, okay, my baseball account is what I'm going to use for my to spend my money. And then my other account is my investments. So I'm going to have all my credit cards and that sort of thing set in my baseball $16 million account, that the salary he's bringing in, and all his endorsement deals from New Balance, etc., commercial stuff, and his investment account. And those are the ones that he was saying all his people, not named Ito, were looking over. But still, so this whole time, not once did Shohei ever look at the account that Ipo was managing, taking care of, operating, whatever, to see what was coming in and going out, just to let me just open up my bank account. Huh. How did I get, why did I wire that $2 million, that $500,000 to this weird number? Let me look at that. I mean, I know you're trying to hit bombs and strike out people in the show. I get all that. You're focused on the day-to-day grind, but just have some wherewithal to look at that. My other question too is, why did you not have your agents, your advisors part of this account? I mean, at the end of the day, it's all your money, right? Divided into different accounts. I mean, no one at all noticed your money was leaving this account. Makes me wonder, makes my head scratch, as it's so hard to fathom all of this. I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to is a movie about this. The script is already written. I mean, there's so many options and storylines and directions to cover. And I hope they cover it all. I mean, let's just go over this real quick. I mean, a superstar athlete involved, you got a bookie involved, gambling involved. You were introduced to a card game interactions. Nobody knows what's happened, where it's gone. Oh, yeah, you've also got major entertainment, sports leagues attachments tied to this. Your former friend needed money, needed help. Maybe there's a mob involved. We won't ever hear about it if it actually was involved. Then also, you've got different media narratives and different reports of what happened with the story. You've got people changing stories in Shohei and his former interpreter, Ipo. So many different ways to go. This is going to be a incredible movie. It's too bad we're not going to know the full truth of what actually happened. But what an incredible movie this is going to be if one is ever made. Because boy, oh boy, sign me up. I will be in theaters. I don't watch a lot of movies in theaters. That's one I would see in theaters. Speaking of theater, Deion Sanders always is about theater and show and looks and style. And it's not a big surprise him coming out and saying this, because I feel like it's a pretty well-known thing where he says NFL teams have been linking rumors about prospects to manipulate their draft stock. Yeah, I believe it. It's been happening for years. Why wouldn't it be happening for years? Why wouldn't NFL teams do this? I mean, it only helps them, as in, when I say them, I mean that team. It helps the Falcons, it helps the Browns, it helps the Colts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, when they leak different tells and information and theories to the media. To me, at this point, it's all about appearances, creating rumors that may or may not affect the draft, the pick, the perception on a player. It's business, right? You're trying to win. You're competing. NFL teams competing at everything. Not just on the field, off the field rumors, stories, players, all that. As a team, I'm sure I know some teams got more rabbit ears than others, but I mean, you have to block out the noise. Follow your draft board. Follow your plan on what to do, what route, and what direction to go. Because your team, is leaking information as well. So you have to be able to filter in what's true, what's not, what works, what doesn't. Draft's coming up next week. Always fun. The rumors have been flying all over the place. They're only going to get better the week of the draft. Fun to monitor. I take every bit of it, reading it with a grain of salt, because it's like a horse. You're all jockeying for different things. And you're trying to get what fits you best as a team. So that's what it's all about. And when Dion said that, I was like, yeah, I see that. It makes perfect sense and incredibly believable. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports. I'll talk to you next week.